The Sabah-al-Ahmed Sea City in Kuwait is an infrastructure project with an unusual approach, designed to provide its residents with beach access on a lagoon that leads directly into the sea. To construct such a city, planners had to overcome significant engineering challenges and battle the forces of nature. This costly method was chosen to address the growing demand for luxurious housing in the oil-rich country, which lacked space due to its limited coastal area. In the late 1980s, Kuwait faced a problem. The need for luxury housing had increased, but the small nation had limited space to accommodate it. The country's northern and southern coasts were only 105 miles apart, and by 1989, much of the coastal area was already built up. Kuwait City and its surrounding suburbs and industrial areas stretched from Kuwait Bay in the north to the southern coast. Building further inland in the desert was not desirable due to the lack of usable resources, unstable ground, and extreme dry heat. To address this issue, planners came up with the idea of creating channels running inland to maximize water access and beachfront properties. By digging these channels and extending the coastline, they could create more desirable living spaces with milder climates thanks to sea breezes. Two potential project sites were considered, one near the Shuwaik district in Kuwait City and the other in Al-Qaran, close to the Saudi Arabian border. However, just as plans began to take shape, the entire project was put on hold due to the invasion of Kuwait by Iraq in August 1990. The subsequent Gulf War and its environmental impacts, such as oil spills and fires, further delayed the project. It wasn't until 6 years later that plans for the Sea City resumed. The developers chose the area in Al-Qaran and decided to focus on a design that was sensitive to the environment. The project site featured two existing tidal creeks, with water levels rising and falling with the tides. Aside from the Al-Qaran resort, the land had not been developed. The master plan for the Sea City was based on the natural currents of these tidal creeks, creating a complex channel system with two additional sea entrances. However, this approach faced several challenges, including maintaining water quality. Poor circulation in the channels could lead to algae growth and foul-smelling salt ponds, making the area unattractive to residents. In order to construct the Sabah-al-Ahmed Sea City, planners had to overcome these challenges and ensure that the city was both desirable for residents and environmentally sustainable. Despite the difficulties, the project stands as an innovative solution to the limited space available for luxurious housing in Kuwait. At the same time, the water flow flushing these channels should also not be too fast, because residents are supposed to swim here comfortably. Moreover, there were concerns about how the geometrically shaped canals designed on plan would not be deformed over the years by the powerful natural forces of the water, potentially threatening residential buildings with flooding. To prevent these issues, planners developed a complex computer model simulating the natural currents. Extensive data about wind speeds, directions, and ocean currents was collected at the project site. With this data, a schematic computer model was created, simulating the hydrodynamic properties of the entire system. Additional connecting channels were introduced in areas where the simulation showed that the water flow was too fast. By doing so, the water flow slowed down and the risk of coastal erosion was reduced. However, even with the adjustments based on the computer model, the water exchange was too irregular in certain areas, which would result in bad water quality. One solution would be to pump water out from these areas, but pumping stations are expensive and energy intensive. Instead, engineers came up with the idea of strategically placing tickle gates to allow the lagoons to be completely flushed only by natural forces. These gates open up at high tide due to water pressure and close at low tide, creating a self-regulating system that improves the flushing of fresh water. While the project began taking shape in the early 2000s, with excavators digging the first canals and flooding the first section with water in 2004. Another project in the Persian Gulf, Dubai's land reclamation projects, also garnered attention. While Kuwait dug channels into the barren desert, Dubai dredged sand from the seafloor to create artificial islands. These two approaches had major differences, especially in terms of their effects on the environment. In Kuwait, the existing natural currents and tidal creeks informed the shape of the design. In Dubai, the form of the islands was chosen to resemble palm trees or a world map. Constructing such land reclamation projects involves a difficult-to-solve contradiction. While the man-made islands must be protected from ocean currents with rigid breakwater rings, this protection prevents regular water exchange. For instance, Dubai's Palm Jumeirah struggles with water quality problems due to its almost stagnant water. In contrast, Kuwait Sea City focuses on dealing harmoniously with nature. Its beaches located near the sea entrance were set up with clearance to be shaped naturally, while the canals inside the land are not subjected to strong ocean forces. rather than causing harm to marine habitats as with land reclamation projects. The digging of new channels in Kuwait's arid desert creates additional habitats for marine life. The stony breakwater in Sea City was filled with water only above the waterline, leaving open underwater spaces for marine life. Additionally, mangroves and other plants that can grow in dry conditions were planted on specially created islands to structurally strengthen the marine bay and create natural habitats. Kuwait's Sea City thus brings the sea into the desert rather than the desert into the sea. Still, the transformation of such a large area in Sabah-al-Ahmed Sea City was an enormous challenge and intrusive. Countless hours of dredging were required to remove material to build the canals, with the project growing over the years and new sections being opened regularly. Planners hope to eventually house 250,000 people in this city. Today, along the canals, one can mostly find residential villas, high-income apartments, hotel resorts, and several marinas, while many plots remain undeveloped. However, the city is primarily a car-dependent development that focuses on private living spaces with direct beach access. Other aspects of modern city planning seem to have been much less of a priority, despite being constructed in Kuwait, a country that owes its economic prosperity to the trade of petroleum products. The Sabah-al-Ahmed Sea City project has had a strong focus on environmental solutions. This is notable considering the construction had to be put on hold during the Gulf War, which had unprecedented catastrophic environmental impacts. At the time, Kuwait had to spend about $1.5 billion just to extinguish fires across the country, as Iraqi soldiers had set countless oil wells on fire during their withdrawal.